Good morning, friends, wherever you are, and welcome to today's Cichlids and Coffee. Oh, yeah. So, hope you're having your favorite beverage, whatever that might be, and wherever you are, I welcome you. I noticed that Davy Larson said burr. I guess it's very cold where you are, Davy. We're in the 20s, and we're in the 20s. We're probably going to get into the 30s today, and it's very cold everywhere. Be sure your heaters are working properly and ideally run through a controller. For those of you who don't have your tanks in heated rooms. So welcome, Davey. Welcome, Cat Sailor. Bueller. That joke never gets old, does it? And let's see, who else do we have here? Hey, Denny. Good to see you, Denny. His tank is looking good up there. He's got some shell dwellers he's got going, and maybe you can send us a video at some point. Andy in the house. Good morning to you, Andy. And Michael in the house. Michael Lotinero, good morning to you as well, my friend. Hey, Salient in the house. Salient Aquatics. Jeff Hester is here. And yes, everybody isn't here yet, Jeff, but we're gonna get there. And TNZ's in the house. Let's see here. I am cruising the chat. TNZ's Fish House. Good morning to you. Peas and Haps Forever. Good morning. Peas and Haps. Whips World in the house. Luke Biba. Am I pronouncing it? Biba. Good morning. Mr. Abelgard is in Denmark, and it is a pleasure to have you here, my friend. And GP in the house, one of my wonderful moderators. Kenneth Dungy, hello to you, my friend. Vibes Aquatics, hello, my friend. Good to see you. Hey, John, Cichlid King's in the house. Suffering from MTS, multiple tank syndrome. Oh boy, that's a horrible disease. Uncurable. It's uncurable. There's no all you can do is give in and buy another tank. Leo's 209 Aquatics. Hiya Whip, and it says hiya to Whips and Kent AJDK in the house. Robert Egan, Renee Dequer. That sounds like it's got a little French in it there, Renee. And hey Sundar, good to see you, my friend. All the way from India. And Leo comes in with a super chat. Pros and cons of all lake tank with shell dwellers and some other tank fish. All right, worth considering. Thank you, Leo, for that. I appreciate that. Hey, the Cichlid Shack is in the house. We'll be talking about the Cichlid Shack in a little bit. And so, very, very good. Louis Ferreira, good morning to you from the UK. Thank you so much for joining us. And yeah, love the UK, and certainly enjoyed my time there, and also in my hop over to Ireland. So let's go ahead and do the, what do you say we do the official start to the stream. Let me see, here we go. All right. So again, welcome everybody, and I have a few things to talk about today. Some tweaks and changes in the fish room. It's always a work in progress for those of you who have, and I was going to say a lot of tanks, but the truth is, even when you have one tank, there's always fine tuning that's going on. Hey, Paul Williams, good to see you, my friend. And so let's take a look here at what's been going on. But first, as is the custom, let's go ahead and do a let's do a couple little shout outs here. A big shout out to my Patreon supporters. These are members of what is called the Garage Gang, and they help out on a monthly basis by supporting the channel. And there are some members there of the Garage Gang that you can see. And that monthly support is what I use to do things like go to Aquashella, which I'll be going to in November, to Daytona, Florida. That's the plan for right now. And of course, other projects that I do in the fish room. So a big shout out to the Garage Gang, my Patreon. Also a big shout out to my moderators that are here right now. You see them noted as moderators with that little wrench next to their name, and they help keep the chat family friendly. So video and sound are good. Thank you, Robert, for that. I was just about to ask about video and sound. Thank you so much for getting one step ahead of me. I appreciate that. So I have something that I've started in the new year here, and it is called Shaq's Choice. And I'm going to switch over to that. And now, some of you know the Cichlids Shack is a sponsor of this channel and helps out quite a bit. And anything you get from the Shack, we are going to extend the 15% off. So Shack Attack 15 for orders over $100. And it doesn't apply to shipping. The shipping costs are just simply passed to the customer. 10% off for all your dry goods, equipment, right, food, things like that, including Extreme. You can also choose a flat rate on shipping. You can use Ben SW50, which is Ben Southwest 50. Ben SW50 for a $50 flat rate on shipping. And that's up to 50 pounds. And all these are for $100 minimum orders to make it worthwhile. And of course, the codes cannot be combined and are subject to expiration. So some of the fish you see flashing on the screen right now are some of the fish that we have featured. Hey, Carrie. Thank you so much, Carrie. Comes in with the super chat. I appreciate that. And we do have some fish that we are featuring today. I want to go ahead and show them to you. Let's see. Let's first get rid of some of these past fish. There we go. And let's see what we have here. So our first fish is, let's see, a Buccochromis. This looks like a Bucco, F1 Bucco Rhodesii yellow, 5 to 6 inches, $89.99. And this fish is gets up over 10 inches and is absolutely gorgeous. And can be, in my case, mine was a little aggressive, but calmed down after I pulled them and put them back in for a little while. But this one right here is the one that is up for sale, and you can see the markings already on this guy. Just a beautiful fish, and whoever scores that one's gonna have one heck of a nice fish. If you want to get fish that are guaranteed male, already showing great markings, in this case F1, which means its parents were from Lake Malawi, and you gotta fork out the bucks for those kind of fish. He also has a beautiful OB peacock here. This is an OB peacock number 1, 5.5 to 6 inches. Beautiful fish. Love the markings on the tail. And this fish will get probably close to about maybe 6 to 7 inches, depending on its parents, its lineage. Beautiful fish if you're looking for a very nice OB. There's also one of my favorite fish, and one that I have in the tank behind me, is the Lethrinops. And this is the Lethrinops oculatus. This is not an easy to find fish. You will not find this in your local fish store probably. But that one is Shaq's Choice, and very nice fish. And surprisingly, the one I have is getting along in this tank. I've mentioned it before. The Lethrinops and the Bicolor 500, Doesn't mean it's always going to be that way, but at any rate, for now, he holds his own, and people, the other fish leave him alone. They just leave him alone. So, at any rate, check out the shack at the cichlidshack.com, and be sure to use those discount coupons if you can, those discount codes if you can. So let's get into today's topic, and certainly James, I think, is on the chat here, and if you have any questions about any of those fish, and be sure to ask him right in the chat, because where you see the Cichlid Shack, that is the owner, James Largo. Go ahead and ask him about it. I have a couple videos coming up that I want to just share a very short preview with you. One of them is going to be on the 210 gallon. I recently serviced the sump, and then I serviced the Sun 704B, and it's been doing a great job. I've got a pre-filter on it, and I wanted to see if the pre-filter on the Sun 704B is going to be being as effective as the pre-filter on the Fluval FX6. And so look for that video. It'll probably drop tonight, maybe tomorrow morning, but here's just a short preview for you. So you, the fish, and me are seeing the inside of this canister for the first time in roughly about 5 months. Go ahead and pop it open. You can tell it was nicely air sealed by the suction noise it made. This top part does hold a lot of water, so be sure you pour it out. And be careful if you have a unit that has a UV light, not to bang that light against anything, or it will shatter. In my case, I don't use the UV light, so that chamber is just a sealed glass compartment with no light in it, because I don't use the light. That looks pretty good. This top section here is just polishing. Water travels through the sun. It goes to the bottom. It goes through the bottom following this track right here. It goes to the bottom of the canister and then is sucked back up to the tank from the bottom up. So what do I have here? I have, these are some Sarah polishing balls. Just a preview. It's I break the canister down entirely. I also include some pro tips in that video on how to ensure that your canister is leak free and quiet. So check that video out. And Andy threw a super chat at me. Thank you, Andy, and has a question about keep up the great work. Thank you, Andy. Your calm and friendly demeanor suit fish keeping. Thank you. Thank you. I sometimes see fish keepers that are over the top, and it's I don't watch them for too long when they're trying to be very, very entertaining, but with a lot of wild gestures and hyperbole. But what oil do you use on canister filter O-rings, and how often? I use what is called silicone. I believe it is food grade silicone lubricant. And be sure it's food grade, and that way it's safe for consumption, safe for humans. And I do it at least once a year. I'll either pull out the O-ring and lube it and put it back in, or pull it out, and if I inspect it and see some flat spots, some areas that look a little bit flat or cracked, I replace the O-ring, because that is the #1 point of failure on canister filters. So just watch for that. The other video I have coming up is a video on a review of the light that is manufactured now and offered by the Aquarium Co-op. Aquarium Co-op is, of course, branding a lot of products, and one of them, I did a review on their heaters, which I'm very impressed with. I'm using them in several tanks right now, and I had the light ready to go for that planted tank video. Maybe one of the moderators can share that planted tank video. But it was let me get this thing to stop rocking here. Anyway, the planted tank video had a light that I showed in the beginning of the video, and I was going to include it in that video, but when I unpackaged it, it had cracked in shipping. So no fault of the co-op. Obviously, the handlers probably threw it. For those of you who have ever known anyone who's worked in the shipping business, the fragile means that you throw it underhand, and so it had some cracks all through it. Now, it could have held together. I mean, when you turned it over, no glass fell out. It was just a lot of hairline cracks. I didn't want to risk glass falling into the aquarium, and so I contacted the co-op, and immediately they sent me out another one. And I'll give you a preview of that video. It'll probably drop maybe on Sunday, maybe Tuesday, we'll see, but here's a preview of it. The light is very well packaged, as you can see here, in a custom box, obviously made specifically for this light. And on the box it says optimized for plant growth, 3-year warranty. That sounds pretty good. Highly water resistant. That's different from waterproof. Doesn't mean you can drop the light into your tank and expect it to survive, but it is resistant, so just take it out real quick and wipe it down. You should be okay. Adjustable light intensity, easy use inline remote, and extra long power cable. Let's go ahead and take a look at this light. Let's go ahead and open up this boxing here. As you can see, it comes well wrapped, protected from the elements on the way here. So let's go ahead and open that up and see what we got. All right, there's your sneak peek at the Aquarium Co-op light. I'm going to show you that light again in a minute here. We're going to do something which I call the fish room lap. We're going to take a lap of the fish room, but very quickly here, I want to take a look here at some of the comments. Carrie, I think I thanked you for that super chat. I appreciate that super chat. Super chats are ways for people to just throw a little bit of dough at the channel. And for those of you not familiar, it's down below by the comments, and I really appreciate it. K Stu in the house. Welcome, K Stu. Solar King Ronnie. Did I say hi to you already, Solar King Ronnie? And we got Andy, and somebody mentioned about starting up a CO2. I'd like to go ahead and get this. I've got the CO2 kit here from the Aquarium Co-op. See it? And I'm just trying to work my way through the instructions on it and add it to my planted tank. I'd like to go ahead and include CO2. And Michael, if you have any tips on adding CO2, definitely let me know. So I'm just trying to get my wits around what to do about it and how to set it up correctly. And I think it'll really make a difference. The folks that I've talked to about plants in an aquarium, the consensus tends to be yes. When you add CO2, it makes a very big difference. Now, I have heard that it does impact pH. That if you add CO2, you could actually experience a slight drop in pH. So just something I'm keeping in mind. Now, let's go ahead and take a lap of the fish room and Yeah, Michael, let me know. Let me know how that goes for you, and let me know if you see what kind of results you see there. So just clean this up here, and let's go ahead and do this update on the fish room. I call this segment the fish room lap. Now, despite me having not having fond memories of that concept, I had a gym teacher when I was in middle school, and whenever you'd open your mouth, take a lap, Ochart. All right, let's take a lap of the fish room. All right, so here's the 210 gallon, and it's still looking really crisp after I serviced that, after I serviced the sump, and all the fish are doing really well in it. They're all thriving. That Oscar is just growing like a beast. I'm pretty sure he's going to catch up to that vieja, even though the vieja is like got to be pushing 10 inches. The Oscars and the viejas were also from the cichlid shack, so don't think that they're just African cichlids. And this chocolate cichlid, also from the cichlid shack. The Oscars are still friends. I hope they remain friends. Notice all the water, all the water movement at the top really helps keep a lot of oxygen in there. That little red belly, Salvini, she's just a cutie. This is a firemouth I picked up like the Salvini over at the Aquatic Critter here in Nashville. Just a beautiful firemouth, and always getting into it with the Nicaragua. Maybe you noticed that earlier. Oh, here he comes. He drops that little red section below the gills there just to try and look mean and big. Of course, the Jack Dempsey just wants to guard his rock. Doesn't really care about what's going on around him. At any rate, that tank now has a serviced sump and a serviced canister, so you're looking at some pretty pristine conditions in there. Here's the 300 gallon behind me, and as you can see, it's thriving. You can see the oculatus there on the left side there, Lethrinops oculatus, moving to the right now. And there's that little bicolor 500. Every fish in this tank was acquired from the cichlid shack. There's that miracle Autopharynx tetrastigma. Look at the lips on that gar. What a mouth, huh? They're designed to actually go sideways and get between rocks and pick off like Mabuna fry and stuff. That beautiful Venusus. Really mellow as far as Venusus go. Every tank needs to have a Taiwan reef. This one tends to hold his own. He does get harassed a little bit by that tangerine tiger in the same Protomelas family, and maybe sees him as some kind of a threat, but chases him around. But not for long. Doesn't really do any damage. The Coengi, it's kind of hard to really capture the beauty of the Coengi on film. Every little scale has a different color. That trout's just turning into a beast. It was this trout that really convinced me to move the African cichlids to the 300. I've jumped back into keeping betta after my rough start, and I've learned a couple things. One, they really like a tank that has a lot of in and out so you can go in and out and play. So I put some big artificial plants in there. I also learned that they do need stimulation from other fish from time to time, because when I lost one betta, the other one went into this sort of deep depression and then shortly expired on me. So I picked up these, and I'm really happy with them. They were about $6 each at my local fish store. I'm feeding them once a day. I'm going to be adding more and more floating Sprite as I harvest it, and I'll show you what I mean in a second. There's also a coolie loach buried in the substrate. Second they went in, he went under the substrate and buried himself, and he comes out when the lights are a little bit more dim. You can see some Sprite floating back there, but I'm going to be adding a lot more of it. Little lyre tail waiting for me to add some females. So this is going to be my sort of Sprite harvest, my Sprite farm. If you remember when I set this tank up, there's actually good substrate, plant-specific substrate under this gravel. It is some of the fluval substrate, plant-specific. And so I figured this would be a good place to grow Sprite, and when it shoots off the little white roots, I'll go ahead and clip it, and then just start adding it to other aquariums. So this is going to be my Sprite farm. I like the way it looks, like a little forest there. All the live bears are doing well. You see some of the babies in there putting on size. And of course, there's also a couple snails. Nearite, I think that's called a nearite snail. And you see a little Nubius in there. And this offspring of Big Mama pagoda snail. The mother of all of them is in the other tank. Here's some new fish that I'm going to be adding to the aquariums. I thought, you know, I mean, tell me what you think. I mean, I think the neons are sort of the most underrated fish in the hobby. We just take them for granted. But I thought having 10 neons in that 55 gallon would look great. So I picked up another 5 neon tetras, and they're in quarantine. They'll be in there for about a month, even though they're looking really good. Very active, eating well. And I also picked up some guppies. And of course the guppies will go into the live bear tank. These are all males. I'll probably add a few females in there. And I'll show you the guppies. They're really cute. Really colorful. So, of course, the guppies are going with the live bears. We'll add the neons over to the 55-gallon planted tank. So those guys are in quarantine, in holding. But I'm liking the way that 29 tall is looking. Here's the 90, and everything is just rock solid in the 90. You know, fingers crossed. All the fish seem to be doing well. I really love the way the silver dollars have sort of fit in. I'd like to add 3 or 4 more silver dollars to this tank. As you can see, the geos are just looking spectacular. I picked up these 2 silver dollars, believe it or not, at a local PetSmart. They were just the only 2 fish in the tank. I just called the person over and said, hey, give me those 2 silver dollars. And they've put on some size, have gotten a little red in their anal fins. I've become quite fond of them. The red spotted Sevrum there. You can see them. Such odd shaped fish, right? There's a red shoulder Sevrum back there being shy like he normally is. But anyway, I think maybe 2 or 3 more silver dollars would be a good addition here. What do you think? You can comment in the chat. Let me know what you think. You know, this electric blue Ochart is always hanging out near the top, so it's hard to really show you how beautiful he is. He's just a big beast as far as Ochars go. Picked him up from a friend here locally. Look at that green tear. It's coming along very, very nicely. Was a bit of a runt at first. Here's the 55, and you can see, I don't know if you can remember, and it'll be highlighted in the video on the light review video that's coming out. But there's the light up there. It's a very thin profile, and I love the end piece that connects to the top of the aquarium. It just very sturdy, really like that light a lot. You'll see the full review, but you can see it's very, very, very bright. And that's not even at the full, the full setting. It's a 50-watt light and is plant specific. There's some of the Sprite there that's, I'll be adding a whole lot more of that. So if these fish lay eggs. Now I've heard that these Buenos Aires tetras can be, they can be plant destroyers. So I'm hoping that's not the case, but I have already found a few pieces of plant floating at the top, like some of the jungle val, that looks like it was chewed through and then broke off. So I'm going to keep an eye on those Buenos Aires tetras. So there's the lap of the fish room, and I think if I have the time to film it and put it together, and I will do that for you with each live stream, so we just get a complete update of what's going on around here. So let's take a look at the chat and see what kind of questions you have, what's going on your mind. And let's see here. If you have any questions for me, go ahead and ask them now. Let's see here. Leslie Perry, I know you visited Animal City in Murfreesboro a while back. Did you know they have a 2-week guarantee on their fish? I lost a torpedo barb on day 10 and they did replace it. I don't remember visiting Animal City in Murfreesboro. Leslie, can you send me information on that shop? Send it to ben.o.cichlid@gmail.com. And maybe that's a shop that has gone under my radar, because if I haven't gone to it, I went to Franklin Pet. I visited Franklin Pet. Don't remember going to Animal City. So yeah, definitely send me some info on that place. Maybe I'll pay him a visit. Let's see here. Cichlid Shack, more Skittle OBs, Red Top Lawandas, Nagaro Flametails, F1 Spilonotus Tanzania, F1 Milochromis Laterstriga, and a long nose Muckhus, Big Spot Haps. So there's a lot of stuff going on at the shack, folks. Be sure to visit thecichlidshack.com. Metakali Fishkeeper in the house. Hello, my friend. Glad you're here. And I am cruising the chat. If you have any questions, go ahead and ask them now, my friends, and I will go ahead and take them up. Salient Aquatics is commenting on water sprite. Grows more than I know what to do by floating it. 10 hours a day, bright light, no ferts, no CO2. Now, someone at the fish store, and maybe you know about this, Salient, but they told me that because of the water sprite that I bought, it had no white roots coming out of the stalk, right out of the plant itself. It only had roots at the bottom. So they suggested that I put it in the substrate, and then when it starts to shoot out the roots, clip below the roots, and then float those pieces. So that's the strategy I'm taking. So maybe you know about that. Leslie likes silver dollars. Yeah, they're cute. You know, at first, someone suggested them to me as what is called a dither fish, a fish that would distract the geophagus from going after each other. And I said, yeah, okay, they seem a little boring, but now that I've got them and I you know, I watch their calm demeanor and how they like to hang out together, and they swim around practically side by side, and they're getting that little bit of red on the bottom. Anyway, they're cute. They're very cute. They're very different. They're a very different type of fish, and I like them. I like them. I've actually grown kind of fond of them. Luke Biba, I have a red severum in my 75 with my discus. Nice. Nice. Guess they get along fine, I guess, huh? Whip's World wants to know how much wood could a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood. If you have an answer for Whip's World, be sure to note it in the chat. What's in your coffee? Ex-Kali Kev. Love that name. I'm Ex-Kali Ben. And Frank. Frank comes in with a super chat. Gracias, amigo. And let's see. Oh, Leslie, let me see. You did a video on it next to the bowling alley. Interesting. Okay, I'm gonna check that out. I know it's in my playlist of local fish stores. Jared Williams wants to know about whiptail cats. Do any of you have whiptail cats? I love my whiptail cat. They also call them armored cats, and I did a little short video on mine, and what he does is he extends down from the wood in the aquarium, so it looks like he's a piece of wood, and it's like the perfect camouflage. I did a little YouTube short on it, and very peaceful, doesn't bug anybody, very unusual, very odd looking, and it really looks like a twig. As a matter of fact, I think one of the names for them is they call them twig catfish. But anyone else here have experience with the whiptail? They do produce a lot of, like in the place that they rest, you'll find a lot of waste, a lot of, little skinny little poops. But I really can't complain about them because they're so interesting. They're so interesting to look at. So anyway, if you have any information on them you can share with Jared, go ahead. I got this whiptail from a friend of mine here locally. The same person that gave me the electric blue Acara he was taking down his tanks because he was moving. So he gave me the Acara, and he gave me that whiptail and a whole bunch of little plecos that I'm growing out. So thank you for that, Frank. I appreciate that. Robert comes in. Thank you so much, Robert, for that super chat. Are you going to get some pea puffers? It's an area that I really don't know anything about, and I'd like to find out some more about them. They sure are cute, and I love the way they look, and I love the figure eights. The figure eight puffers too are just adorable, and I'm sure those ones with the green eyes, they're just really a pretty fish. And so I'd like to get some of those maybe at some point, but right now, not sure where I'd put them. I've got an empty 55 with a divider in it, in the hope that when I get some additional African cichlids, I can quarantine them in that 55, and maybe some South Americans, we'll see. I'd like to get some redhead tapajos, some silver dollars. I'd like to pick up some, maybe another big spot hap, just a few other key fish for the collection. So I've got to have a tank where I can quarantine big fish. So the 55 is for that now, is for that purpose. And Would a pea puffer get along in a community tank? Could you put a pea puffer, or do they need more of a brackish type of aquarium? So again, I just need to do a little bit more research on it when it comes to pea puffers. Gabriel's Glass Boxes is at work and listening in. Don't let your boss catch you. All right. Hey, John's got to go. Thank you for your help, buddy. Always appreciated. Cichlid Kings. All right, let's see here. I am looking at the chat. Greg Grover in the house from down under. Hey, Greg, welcome to the live stream. It's isn't it summer in Australia? Send a little bit of your summer up here. LKB Pythons. Bottom feeders for a 55-gallon Mabuna if possible. LKB, your Mabuna are going to be feeding on that bottom quite a bit. They love scrounging around and not just feeding, but moving the bottom, the substrate. One of the problems you'll have with Mabuna if you build up a lot of caves and rocks is that they'll dig out underneath them and possibly cause a cave-in. So just something to keep in mind with Mabuna. But I guess, you could probably put some, maybe some Synodontis catfish. Synodontis catfish are good. So consider some of those. You really want to make sure it's a cat that can survive in a tank with very aggressive fish. The Synodontis are your best bet, being from Lake Malawi. But your Mabuna are going to be working that substrate quite a bit. So if you're thinking about a cleaning crew, the good thing about the Synodontis is that they will not go hungry. They will go to the top, and they are very aggressive eaters, so they're not going to get starved out. Aquaballs in the house. Good to see Aquaballs. Says that he has brown woodcats, 2 in a planted tank, and they love it. Very, very cool. And Paul King Metal, you need to get more silver dollar fish for sure. I have 7 of them in my 125 South American. They look cool in a bigger group. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. And I also love the way they school. They do hang out together, and that's very, very cool. All right. Leslie Perry, I have let me see here, a Farlawella catfish, and he is fabulous. They get to 6 to 8 inches, but they're so skinny. They do not actually get big. So probably, is he a twig? Is he one of the twig variety catfish? And I think it's just used as a form of camouflage, where other fish leave them alone because they think it's just a stick that's laying there. So let's see here. Peas and haps, I have Synodontis, and they are great with Africans. Yeah, the Africans leave the Synodontis alone. I don't know if it's because they move so fast, but you'd think those big whiskers would be something that an African cichlid would want to munch on. But no, they leave them alone. I had what somebody called a panda, a Synodontis panda, and man, that fish was cute. Had him in California. I believe I sold him when I sold a 100-gallon acrylic when I moved from California. Ben, do you know a way to treat cysts? My tetrastigma has a few. Oh, that's rough, Michael. If anyone here on the chat knows how to treat a cyst, I would definitely put them. I mean, you'd think maybe you should separate them out, but a cyst isn't contagious necessarily. And is it a virus or a bacterial? I mean, what causes the cyst? And from the things I've come across over the years, once those things get going, all you can hope for is that it just doesn't get too big. But I haven't had experiences, and maybe some of you on the chat have, where a cyst will actually respond to some kind of medication and start to retreat a little bit. I just haven't seen that. I would just, do your water changes, keep pristine conditions, and I wouldn't know whether to treat it as a bacteria or as a viral. I just don't know. I just don't know how you, if you have some experience, and I'll pin your question to the top here, and if somebody has experience in that area, go ahead and comment. Peas and haps forever. My last son Adonis lived 12 years. Wow. That's very, very cool. Do you happen to know what type of Synodonis that was? Because I know they come in various, they come in a variety of types. There's one Synodonis that will come in after African cichlids have laid their eggs and eat the eggs and leave behind the eggs of the Synodonis. So then the female cichlid will scoop up and will scoop up the Synodonis eggs. And actually, no, I think it's yeah, they'll lay the eggs, and then the female cichlid has already scooped up some of her eggs. And what happens is the Synodonis eggs will hatch first, and they'll eat the cichlid eggs in the mouth of the female, and then come out when they're ready to come out. And it's just totally freakish. There's a video on YouTube on it, and I forget the name of that particular Synodonis, but it is sold. It's sold in pet stores. And so the female cichlid scoops up her eggs, and then the Synodonis lays their eggs right in the same spot. So the female cichlid scoops those up too. The fry eat the cichlid eggs. The Synodonis fry eat the cichlid eggs, and then come out of the cichlid. Crazy. It's just a crazy kind of situation. So check that out on YouTube if you can. Angelo comes in with a super chat. Thank you, Angelo. That's appreciated. And we got a quite a conversation going here. Rob Barra, discus are still on the short list of fish that I want to keep. It's just a matter of, do I want to move the fish from the 90-gallon over to the 210? Do I think they would do okay in there? And I hate messing with success. I mean, the 90 is just doing so well, and that would be the discus tank. So, I mean, I don't know. Maybe what I could do is leave the gold spot severum in there, and I'll show you what I'm talking about as I'm talking about it. Maybe I can turn the camera, see if we can get it on. You can see it. Just so I could maybe take the green tear out, put the green tear in the 300, leave behind the blue Acara, the Geos, the silver dollars, and maybe the red spotted severum, and then put discus in it that way. That might work, actually. That might work in this tank. So, yeah, discus are still on the short list. And I think this 90-gallon would be a good a good tank for discus. The only reason I was thinking of taking all the fish out is because I wanted to have putting some live plants in with the discus. I thought that would be a good way to go, and I don't think these fish would be good with plants. I think they would proceed to destroy them. You can see a little sliver there of the planted 20 tall. There's the betta tank. I'll take you all the way around. You can see the you can see the 210 there behind that light. You can see with the filters serviced just how pristine it is. Those Oscars love being front and center. They're just camera hogs. All right. Got two laps of the fish room. Okay, let's see. Any more questions? Did you folks answer Whip's world question about the woodchuck? All right. I'm scanning the chat. Saline Aquatics, I don't do any of that with water Sprite. I believe it is another case of overcomplicating things. I throw the Sprite in, float it, no ferts, no CO2, grows so much fish can't move around. I'll keep that in mind. Very, very cool. Yeah, I got to check that out, Leslie. Animal City. Yeah, I put out a video, and you reminded me of this with your comment about water changes here, salient. There's definitely a big difference in. There's definitely a big difference in keeping this planted tank. Water changes are turning more into, maybe removing just a little teeny bit and then topping off the tank because you want the nitrates, you want the ammonia to feed the plants, right? So you don't want to overdo your water changes. So it's just a different style. Lights, whereas lights on my African cichlid tank, I'd leave those. I leave them on for a few hours in the morning, a few hours at night, but for the rest of the day, the lights are off, and kind of keeps them calm. And if I come down, of course, to do something, I'll turn the lights on so I can enjoy the tank. But the timers on the planted tank, I've had to extend the time, right, so the plants get enough light. So anyway, it's just different gears, different ways of different types of tanks with different requirements. But you can't take the mentality of an African cichlid keeper and use a lot of the habits that you have in a planted tank, because the planted tank will fail. It needs the light on for a long time. Large water changes are not necessarily recommended. And so there's a different mindset. So it's interesting, always be learning and keep challenging your brain, or it'll dry up on you. So, all right. Aqua balls. I'm feeding the water Sprite to my goldfish. I have so much. I get it. Okay. Well, I hope I have that kind of success in growing it. Whip's World, Luke, I'm a bit of an overachiever. 2 Marineland, 360 canisters, FX. Okay, you're answering somebody's question. And let's see. Leslie Perry. I put some river rocks in my 125 BDBS and they sank under the sand. How do you keep them from being buried? Now you're talking about the river rocks went under the. First of all, you must have a lot of sand in there, but yeah, eventually the heavier items will settle down. As but I'm thinking, if I understand this correctly, now one thing you can do is you can get a if you can get one of those fluorescent light diffusers, a fluorescent light diffuser. It's the cover that goes over the ceiling light, and you can cut them and shape them, and you can use those to put the rocks on top of, and then lightly put some light sand there. That should kind of keep things in the position that you want. That might help. Just if you go to like any hardware store, like like a Home Depot or Lowe's or something like that, and just search fluorescent light diffuser, and it's just plastic squares that you can cut to shape and use those as the base for your rocks. And I hope that works for you. Ferris, sell me. What can I raise with my betta fish? You know, I'm trying coolie loaches. I've heard the loaches are okay with the betta fish. The betta fish, leave them alone. I did have a friend who tried Cory catfish with betta, and the dorsal fin on the Cory kept getting ragged from the betta nipping on it. So if you just do a Google search on acceptable tank mates for a betta fish, I think you'll find the coolie loaches, the little snake-like striped loaches. Those will work and are mentioned quite often. And anything else that you folks can think of as a good tank mate for a betta fish, go ahead and include it in the chat, and let's help them out with that question. Peas and Haps Forever. I love Congo Tetras, and I would love to put some Congo Tetras in there. They are very, very pretty. And for those of you who caught that very short video, I think it was called Exotic Fish, where I talked about the new stingrays and the rope fish and the koi angels, and they had some beautiful Congo Tetras over at the local aquatic critter. So I would say those are, if I had a list of top 10 fish, they would be on that. You got the silver dollars, discus, Congo tetras, big spot hap, maybe a Synodontis cat. There's like certain fish that I have my eye out, and if I see one, I don't care if I'm at PetSmart, at the aquatic critter. If I see one, I'll snatch it up, probably. And that's why I always have to have a quarantine tank ready, because I'll go in there and do an impulse purchase. All right. Is that Krishna Devalya? I haven't seen your name before, but welcome to the live stream. Looks like Salient Aquatics answered a question for you. That's good. Will you ever consider set up a Mbuna tank? From Paul King Metal. Yes, I have considered it, and I was even thinking about the empty 55-gallon, turning that into a Mbuna tank. But somebody made a real good point. They said, look, if you need to separate out or put in a hospital tank or quarantine big fish, where are you going to put them? And that's true. I mean, if something were to go wrong with that vieja, a 10-inch vieja, I can't put the 10-inch vieja in a 5-gallon tank. He'll just get miserable or probably jump out. So at least not for any extended period of time. So I need to have, when you have big fish, you need to have some big quarantine type, hospital type tanks, so that 55 may actually remain that kind of tank for now. But I have a lot of caves from the company called Unique Underwater Galleries. I have their ceramic caves, and I was thinking of just stacking a whole bunch of them and making a little bit of a Mbuna playground. But we'll see. We'll see. At some point, what's going to happen is a lot of the storage that's in this garage currently is going to get moved out of here, and I'm going to be able to expand outward, so I'm more against the walls with the aquariums, and that's going to give me a much bigger footprint to work with. And at that point, I have a 60-gallon acrylic tank that I'm not doing anything with it, and that could be a good Mbuna tank, a 60-gallon acrylic. I just don't have anywhere to put it right now. So it was intended to be a sump for the 300, and I ended up using a 40-gallon breeder as the sump. So, but yeah, I haven't forgotten about Mbuna. I do love Mbuna. I think the yellow labs, I think and the yellowtail, the blue yellowtail Mbuna, I think those are beautiful. They can be very, very aggressive, and were very hard on my peacocks a while back, and that's why I got rid of them and ended up staying with haps and peacocks. But they are beautiful. All right, my friends, I think we're on the hour. And Chris, did you just arrive, Chris? You're going to need to watch the replay, my friend, and so you can catch a couple video previews and a walkthrough of the entire fish room, where I showed some new plants and new fish. So catch the replay, and thank you for that new sub. Someone just mentioned I just subscribed, and over in India. Very, very cool. And somebody says they have a Cenodonis. Let me see here. Ben, I have got Cenodonis ripteris, and he is about 25 years old. Wow. That's amazing. Absolutely amazing. And also a testament to you as a fish keeper, to be able to keep a fish going and that strong in captivity. It's amazing. Whip Squirrel, sorry to hear that, my friend. Sorry to hear that. All right. Dan Coate, have you ever thought of a saltwater tank? I have, Dan. And I'm just not sure if I want to go down that rabbit hole. Oh, financially speaking, time speaking, learning curve. I'm still learning about freshwater, you know? I mean, I'll tell you, I've been keeping fish since, I was talking to a friend of mine, and I realized I've been keeping fish since 1961. 1961. And it wasn't until 14 years ago, when I started getting into African cichlids, that I really started to understand how all the parts fit together. Water quality, the amount that you're feeding, the filtration, water turnover, pH, the nitrogen cycle. I mean, African cichlids will force you to understand those things. And, you know, aggression, hierarchy, pecking order, ditherfish, brackish water, anyway, all this sort of stuff became very, whereas before then, it was, you know, you clean the tank and, you know, you create an ammonia spike, you lose a bunch of fish, well, that's just how it is. And it wasn't until 14 years ago that I really started to understand what the heck I'm doing. And I'm still learning. I'm still figuring it out. And this whole thing on plants and live bears and community fish and South American, Central American, betta fish. This is all new, and there's so much to learn. And if I get into saltwater, I don't know. Anyway, I know they sell some great all-in-one tanks. They sell some of these tanks that come with the built-in filtration in the back, like a sump, and you can make a little coral reef. Maybe something like that. Maybe something that I can kind of keep on the desk up in my bedroom and just keep a few little hard and soft corals, and maybe something like that to start. So, and I love coral. I love the way coral looks. All right, my friends, take care. Have a wonderful weekend. You are the best. I appreciate you coming by. Thank you to my wonderful moderators. Thank you to the Cichlid Shack for their support, and all of you subscribers. Thank you to my Patreon members. You are the best, and thank you for your monthly support. And with that, I will see you folks next Saturday, and watch for the 2 upcoming videos on the Aquarium Co-op Lite and the breaking down of the Sun 704B after running for 5 months with a pre-filter. So look for those videos. All right. Thank you, my friends. I'll see you next week.